Hi, Jen here. I'm the host of this group. Oh, getting a bit too close. The host of this group, Energised Women, a group for women to support each other, to basically be better mothers, partners, sisters, friends, whatever it is that we're striving to be in life. Because I think most of us women tend to look after everybody else around us and forget to look after ourselves as well. So I want to inspire women to take more time out for themselves and fill their own cup first so they can then be better there for everybody in their lives. So if you know anyone who'd like to join us, then please send them an invitation to our group. So today's Facebook Live topic, I'm going to see if I can get to the comments, etc., because I tried to do this last week and it didn't work. I don't know how I do it. I have to ask somebody. Okay, so today's topic is Your Heart Knows the Way. And basically it's going to be, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, because last week I was on a bit of a jaunt to Sydney and Brisbane. So 2 weeks ago I mentioned that I'm going to be running a bit of a theme in terms of a whole range of topics on how to create your ideal life. So today's topic follows on in that theme, and I've called it Your Heart Knows the Way. So have a think about this situation. Have you ever had a day where it's been totally hijacked by an activity that you definitely weren't planning for, but when you look back on the day, you think to yourself, wow, that was a fabulous day. Why don't I do those sorts of things more often? It could have been that it was a crisis and one of your children just simply needed to have some fun. Or maybe you had a friend in need who was desperate for a day or a night out to forget their troubles. And at the time when this situation popped up, you might have been, or you were probably thinking to yourself that it's basically what you were contemplating doing, whether that be helping out a friend or being there for one of your children, that particular thing was probably the very last thing that you should be doing with your time, and that your massive to-do list was going to suffer as a result of you taking time out to help or do whatever this activity was you're contemplating. However, what I would like to bet is that not only did you end up having a great time and you resolved at the end of the day to actually do it more often and be more spontaneous and take time out for yourself more often, but I also bet that you managed to get your to-do list back under control without too much hassle whatsoever. So that the idea of perhaps I shouldn't be doing this because I've got so many other things that I should be doing, that I think suggests the fact that you managed, I think it suggests we often place too much emphasis on the things that we should be doing, where instead we should actually be following our heart, our gut instinct, our intuition, and using that to guide us a lot more. So, because I think the problem is that most of us, we fill our days with should do's. So somebody said this to me a few years ago, and I really love the concept. She said that we are literally shoulding all over ourselves. So we should do this, we should do that, should do this, shouldn't do that. So we're shoulding all over ourselves. And by that, I mean that we have this massive to-do list. We've got work commitments, we've got family commitments, we've got chores, we've got household duties, and a ton of other things that we feel like we should be doing. And I think the reason this doesn't work is because we're forgetting what I'm going to call heart-centered activities. We forget because we just get so caught up in the busyness of daily life, running a household, having a career, raising children. We get so caught up in that we forget these heart-centered activities. And the beauty, or I suppose what's essential about heart-centered activities, is that they're the things that actually give us the energy to slog through the unavoidable should-dos, because there are things that we do have to do, and when we say we should do, we really should do them, because if we don't, for example, if you don't pay the bills, then the power's going to get turned off, so you really should do that. But those things are so much easier to deal with if we also fill our lives with heart-centered activities. And just to expand on what I mean by heart-centered activities, because I'm using that quite general term because heart-centered activities will be different for different people. Heart-centered activities are things that make us feel good, they fuel our soul, they lift us up, they increase our energy, they increase our happiness levels, and all in all, they're really very, very good for us, but we don't do them often enough. So how can we start to rectify this imbalance, I suppose, that's in our life? So if you recognize this in yourself, that you're spending the majority of time on your should list and not enough time on your heart-centered list, then these are some of the things that I think might help. So first of all, try and be a little less attached and a little more carefree when it comes to your to-do list or your should list, because the fact of the matter is most things can wait. And practice learning or practice following your heart, getting in touch with your gut instinct or what your intuition is telling you to do in the moment. That can take a bit more practice depending on where you're at in your life. And I suppose a more practical way of doing that is to make a list of heart-centered activities that light you up. So for example, for me, it would be things like having coffee with a good friend, reading a book, meditating, playing music, singing. Here's a really goofy one, which I like doing. I've got a Wii machine, you know, the Wii game that you play. And I've got this Michael Jackson dance game, and you basically have to, it's all Michael Jackson music, and you put it on and you copy all the dance moves, and I really love it. So that would be on my heart-centered activity list, because I get a real kick out of doing that, but it's one of those things that I don't do often enough. And what I propose that you do with this list, or what I suggest that you do with this list, is start with one a week and choose one heart-centered activity each week. And depending on how far out of touch you are with doing these sorts of things, you might even actually need to schedule it in your diary. So actually book a time in your diary and say, this is what I'm going to do in that time. And just keep doing it that way until you get better at going with the flow. And once you do get better at prioritizing following your heart or your instinct over your should list, then I think we should all aim for doing one heart-centered activity every day, and do it when your heart tells you that it's time, so when it feels right. So how do you know if you're starting to succeed with this particular shift in terms of getting away from the should-dos and going more with what your heart is telling you is important to do in the moment? I think the best way to figure out whether a day has been deemed a success in terms of this concept is if you can look back over the day and you can find a really warm memory or a touching feel-good story, then basically you're winning at the game of life, and in particular the area of following your heart. That's pretty much it for today. So what I would love to do is I would love to hear some of your heart stories. So if you can think of a time when you have pretty much abandoned your to-do list, or your should list, as I'm calling it, and you've just gone with the flow because something's come up and your heart has told you, no, it's more important to do this today, then I would love if you would share that with the rest of the group. So that would be fabulous. If I can see some of those stories posted in the group, would fill my heart if you do that. So thanks for watching this evening, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the recording, and I will catch up with you in the group soon, and I'll see you again same time next week, where we will continue with this theme of creating and living your ideal life. Have a great week, guys. See you soon. Bye.